or like, just try to show the kid a lesson, teach them a lesson. I'm going to walk away because, my ego is really, really big, and I'm going to teach my child a lesson. I'm not going to give in to their tantrum right now.
Well, I think when you think that they're manipulating you and that's your story, and that's oftentimes the interpretation that
that you have to be assertive so that they don't get one over you, right?
Yeah.
Xander gets things over on me all the time. I'm like kind of the opposite direction, where my dad was kind of more that parenting style. And so then I decided I'm not going to be that way. And I went completely the other direction, to where this kid can manipulate me. He puts on the sad face and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. What?
Right.
But he knows you as the compassionate, loving father. And I guarantee you that connection is something that will transcend all of the other lessons.
It was because I didn't put.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Sovereign Lovestream. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Danny.
And we're super happy to have all of you here. Thank you for tuning in. Do you want to get started? What do you...
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. We have two awesome special guests. One of Sal Vasquez and Alissa Vasquez. I've known Sal since we were kids, like probably 13 years old or something. We used to go to youth group together, and we've both come a long way since then. But let me just introduce them. And actually, I'm just going to have them introduce themselves. Let's just bring them on. I was going to read their bio, but you know what? Why not hear it right from their mouths? So welcome, Sal and Alissa.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us. You guys are awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. We appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, it's so good that you guys had us on. We really appreciate it, man. And yeah, me and Danny go way back. Yeah.
We've heard some stories.
Always a story involved when it comes to
too many stories, man.
Well, because we're both such characters that there's always a lot of stories.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
But I think it's really cool how you guys have both like just grown and transcended so many different, different journeys. It's like lifetimes of stuff you guys have been through. So
I think what we have in common is we both seek truth. You know what I mean? Whatever that looks like, and we're willing, because we've gone through some stuff, right? We've been crushed enough where we're willing to open our eyes and be able to see, what that truth is. We're looking for that truth, and so that led us on some different journeys, some different paths, and I'm really happy with that path.
Absolutely. And it's taken us to some dark places, and we've emerged from those places stronger and purified. And
that's right.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate your work and your work in yourself. And then as a couple, the both of you, we both really appreciate what you guys have been doing. And that's why we wanted to have you on the show. I will say for the audience, Sal and Alissa are working on educational content to teach kids emotional intelligence. And I really want them to introduce it, because I'm not going to do it any justice, but it's really powerful stuff. So take it away, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, first of all, for us, emotional intelligence is it's the foundation of really being able to raise a family that thrives, right? It's literally the bedrock of what I feel, what we feel, and what we've come to know should be the number one thing that we focus on in our children at a young age. If they can get this...
Hold on, we have to switch.
Wow.
That's
okay.
Good. Sorry, guys.
I love it.
That's all right. So listen.
You gotta have fun. If it's not fun, it's not getting done.
That's right.
intelligence. Go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, if we can get this, we really feel like we will do our kids a great service. Like this is an investment on our end, that we're investing our time. We're investing having to really learn all this because we had no clue what emotional intelligence is, but we've invested in ourselves. We've invested in our children because we feel like this is the thing. If they can get this, we can literally affect generations.
Well, they're showing that emotional intelligence actually is twice a predictor of future success, actually, than academics. So that's a really big statement to say because it's foundational. Anything that has to do with how you handle and approach life is everything, right? I mean, you can't build unless you have that foundation. So
absolutely, yeah. If you're not aware, how can you literally create? And so we teach a lot of different things that kids can actually understand and implement right away. Because for us, this is how this whole thing emerged. Like we were desperate to try to figure out, what can we do? What can I do my son just threw himself on the floor in anger. And I'm standing there saying to myself, I have no clue what to do. I don't know what to do.
Well, at first it was just like your typical timeout. And we realized very quickly and early on, actually, that was not how we wanted to parent because it involved shame. And just from our journey of self-awareness and self-development and stuff, we're both life coaches, certified life coaches for over a decade. It's crazy. I think before there were life coaches, we were life coaches. But just from all of that training and stuff, it's just a journey that you walk through yourself, right, before you can teach it to anyone. We knew that it's not possible to really grow when you're feeling overwhelming shame. Never mind just physiologically, but it's just your body shuts down. The kids go into something called a cortisol dump. So their body is just flooded with cortisol. There's just not a whole lot of learning happening when you're in that state. And so we knew that this just wasn't going to work. And that's the only tool we really had. That's it. That's all we had. That's all we were taught. Right. I mean, for me, I didn't have any other tools.
Right. Or just try to show the kid a lesson. Teach them a lesson. I'm going to walk away because, my ego is really, really big and I'm going to teach my child a lesson. I'm not going to give in to their tantrum right now.
Well, I think when you think that they're manipulating you and that's your story, that's oftentimes the interpretation that we have.
That you have to be assertive so that they don't get one over you, right?
Yeah.
Xander gets things over on me all the time. I'm kind of the opposite direction where my dad was kind of more of that parenting style. And so then I decided I'm not going to be that way. And I went completely the other direction to where this kid can manipulate me. He puts on the sad face and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. What?
Right.
But he knows you as the compassionate, loving father. And I guarantee you that connection is something that will transcend all of the other lessons.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, for us, we're really big in maintaining that connection, right? So you can take everything else and literally put it to the side. If you can maintain your connection with your child, you'll be able to grow together. I believe you'll be able to raise a healthy, thriving child because in that connection, in the container where they know that they can come to you and they know that even no matter what happens, you see them and you love them for who they really are for them. You really see them. I think that if we can maintain that, we're going to raise thriving children. And it has to do with awareness, emotional awareness on both parts, not just us. Now we're literally going to transfer our emotional ethos into our children. So it's really important that we get it for ourselves, but then what we're teaching them through the vibrations and through the energy that they're picking up in the home is really important. And so that's the first lesson, but then we communicate that lesson to them. We speak on emotions, and we talk about emotions, and we talk about how they can shift their emotions. And so we're communicating that to them verbally as well. So they're the just the ethos of the family, and we're trying to communicate that to them verbally as well. So we're trying our best to do that and kind of
just like a little bit of a backstory. We both homeschool our kids, so this is kind of our normal. And so early on, we learned just how difficult it can be to all be together. I mean, we primarily work from home together, so I'm really fortunate to have a wonderful partner but we can get, we get along, but it took me a really long time. It took me years actually to realize, because the dynamic of having the kids home with you, your husband's with you, your partner's with you, and you're trying to just make everything work. You have to pay the bills. You need to, things have to get done. And there were some days where I would just go to bed crying. I would just be like, when I put the kids down, I would just be crying. And it wasn't until I finally saw that I had control over the emotional environment of my family, that I was not at the effect of it, that I was able to actually cause the environment to be how I wanted it to be. And until I realized and took responsibility for the environment, because a lot of times I would just be like, I was actually in victim mode. I mean, can you imagine that? I was in victim mode, and it was my kids that were the perpetrators. And that's how I would end my day. Like, these kids I mean, how silly is that? We are the parents, and we are in a position to be able to craft and to form and to, we have the freedom to create the environment we want to see. That's right. That is so huge. Just that simple revelation.
I think, sorry to interrupt. I think that is a very common emotion. I was a stay-at-home dad with Xander for the first 2.5 years. And I think that's a common thing to feel like you're being victimized by your kids, especially if there's more than one. I only had one. You guys have 3 running around. So
we got 3, man.
They outnumber you guys. So you better watch out.
And the little one is she's the most energetic, man. She's
I think that's a common thing that a lot of parents feel, that overwhelming anxiety at the end of the day. Like, my God, I'm so exhausted. I must suck as a parent that I can't handle this. And so I think a lot of times it can be difficult, not only for us to manage their emotions, but to manage our own emotions. And like you said earlier, if you can't manage your own, how are you going to expect to teach your kids to model theirs?
Right.
So I think we just watched the introduction to your emotional intelligence course, and we felt like this is amazing for us as parents to sit and learn these techniques and just to apply to our own lives.
Right. And you know what? It's really just coming from a place where I think the reason why it's so effective with the children is because it's coming from a place of, this is what we are trying to practice ourselves. Like, this is what we're so hard trying to be aware parents, be aware individuals, allow ourselves to feel, have compassion for ourselves. Like, we're trying to learn this and get this, that it's easier for us to communicate that to these kids, because this is what we're really trying to, boots on the ground, man. This is either working or it's not working. And we found some things that have definitely worked, because if it can work with our kids, it can work with anyone. I promise you that. I promise you. We have some high energy, very, very self-sufficient, wake up in the morning, make their own eggs, toast, and bacon, and they're 5 and 6 years old. Like, that's kind of the type of kids that we have. And so, but we also butt heads a lot with them as well. So this is coming from a place of, this is what's working. And so that's why I feel like it's so successful, and it's really foundational stuff that I believe is not only transformational for the child, but it's just like you guys said, it's transformational for the whole family.
Well, that's where the superhero training came in. We were desperate.
We were desperate. And you know what? This is what emerged out of that chaos. And so this is, I'll just show you real quick, because it would take a lot to really kind of go into it. This is our superhero training kit. And we really developed this out of a very, very messy place where we tried to figure out how can we really, really practically help our children navigate their emotions, but not only navigate their emotions, to really be creators of their lives. Because if you could master your emotions, we tell the kids all the time, if you could master your emotions, if you could really learn how to navigate your emotions, you'll literally be able to create your reality. You'll be able to create a beautiful day for yourself. And we go through all of these different exercises, like how does it feel to be angry right now? Does that really feel good? And we kind of allow the kids to feel it, and they say no. And so, we're constantly trying to teach our children first, and the kids that we teach online, we're trying to teach them how to be okay with feeling how they're feeling, right? Emotions are neutral. There's no good emotion. There's no bad emotions. Emotions are just normal. And we tell the kids emotions are normal. And you can kind of see a sigh of relief kind of come over some of these kids, because when I say, feeling mad is okay, you're allowed to feel mad, or you're allowed to feel frustrated, they feel validated. And we start from there, just letting these kids know that you're allowed to feel how you're going to feel. That's okay, but you don't want to stay in low energy emotions. And so we teach them what these low energy emotions are. We use our superhero training kit, and we have some of these really cool character cards. So this is sad, and we help them kind of identify, this is low energy, right? It's okay to feel this way. This is anger. It's okay to feel that way.
It's my favorite.
That's a higher energy emotion. So we start teaching them how to raise their emotions, be okay with where they're at, but raise their energy, because it's their choice. They can choose what they think, and they can choose how they feel to literally create the life that they want to create. And it's really effective. We find it really, really effective.
Yeah, because it's simple. For us, it has to be simple.
Yeah, I think you guys are hitting the nail on the head. We actually had an experience recently with Xander where he was really frustrated. We were trying to get him to work on a project in a way that wasn't what he was used to, and he got really, really frustrated. And we were trying to get him to explain what he was feeling, and he was just like, I'm really frustrated. And we were like, it's total, once we kind of empathized and got to that level of, it's totally okay to be frustrated. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, when things change, we get that it can be hard. As an example, we were like, people are having meltdowns all over the place because of this whole lockdown, and everybody's anxious that their routines have changed. So everybody feels that. Even as an adult, you're going to feel that. And that's totally normal. We're not saying that it's wrong for you to have that feeling. What steps can we take to get, for you to work through that feeling? And that, once we kind of gave him that, in a way, I mean, it sounds harsh to say the permission to, but for kids, that's kind of the language they understand, right? What do I have permission to do? What am I allowed to do or feel or think? And so once he had that sort of permission, or once we said, it's normal, we feel that way too. When our schedules change, when our routines change, it can be confusing and overwhelming. And so it's totally understandable. And then it all just the guard went away. It all came down, and he was like, okay, I can try this. And it's just so much easier when kids know that it's okay to feel a certain way.
And I have to give Vanessa so much credit, because she is really so much better at empathizing with this than I am. I still have a lot of trouble. So he'll get frustrated, and what he does, he doesn't get angry or throw a temper tantrum, but he'll cry, and that breaks my heart. And I just want to give in and forget. I don't care about teaching him emotional intelligence. I just want to soothe him now, and I'll let it go. And Vanessa is very good at keeping us on discipline and making sure we're doing the right thing, because it's better for his development in the long run. If I stick a pacifier in his mouth, metaphorically, every time he cries, he's not going to grow or learn from that experience. So I just wanted to give Vanessa the props for that, because you really are so important in keeping us on that track that, you know.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. You know, just like what you guys are saying. So emotional intelligence really fosters self-confidence in kids. When children, when our kids can be, when they can know how they're feeling, when they can communicate that, they can really be a lot more confident, because they know, just like you said, you don't want to stick a pacifier in their mouth. You want them to kind of work through those challenging things in an aware way, so that they can show up to the world and be self-confident that they're able to work through challenging things. So there's so many things that this whole emotional intelligence topic really hits on, and we really feel like it's such an important thing to focus on in the family, like right away, as soon as kids can start focusing on it. We're seeing age 4 and 5.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you guys start off by teaching the different kinds of emotions. I think a lot of us, even as adults, have a hard time figuring out what it is that we're feeling, right? We either feel the high or the low, but we don't know what it, it's hard to like focus on one particular feeling or get to the root feeling of what's going on in that moment. And I think that's something that we're discovering right now with Xander, that there are times where he does kind of just cry, but there's he's having a hard time articulating what exactly the feeling is. And I mean, like Danny
he'll
said,
say, like, I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know why I feel so upset.
And so I loved watching that intro video where you broke down all of the feelings, all of the different like aspects of each feeling, which is beautiful. It gives kids the opportunity to identify, oh, this seems more like what I'm feeling. And that's encapsulated in this, in this particular emotion. And I think that just helps them have a voice and be able to identify those emotions. And it's so important.
So many adults don't even know how to identify their emotions. It's amazing. And not to like stereotype, because I think men are becoming a lot more emotionally aware, but a lot of men have a hard time just being able to identify very simple feelings, putting words to their feelings.
Well, we've been shamed for generations for expressing. It's not manly to express feelings. That is finally starting to change.
And where do you think that comes from? It comes from early on, when we shame these kids for having temper tantrums.
Right.
I mean, they're not able to put words to it. I mean, how do you expect a little child, a little toddler, to be able to, express themselves eloquently or how they're feeling, and never mind regulate their emotions? Right. But then we actually shame them. We put them in a corner,
For feeling that way, yeah.
For feeling ways that are just totally normal. They're having big emotions, and so that's an early programming. It really is. But we've noticed that one of the things that has really helped for kids to identify their emotions, or adults, is just to ask yourself what thoughts, if you're starting to feel a certain way and all of a sudden you have this awareness of the fact that you're feeling a certain way, it's great, because then you can name your emotion, but then what? And then how do you actually shift and change? Because that's what's powerful for us, is having the awareness, but then also being able to do something about it. Right. And a lot of times what will help is if you ask him what his thoughts were right before he was feeling that way. So if you see him crying, like, what were you thinking about, buddy? What had just happened? And just, and then he can connect, the feeling with what just happened, because we like to share. Emotions are really just thoughts in motion. Because they manifest in your body, but they start as a thought.
Yeah.
And so if you can get to what that thought was behind what, right before the emotion, a lot of times you can connect them, and then you can work from there. You can go there.
Yep.
I think that was such an invaluable thing, and I took that out of that first class, was, we don't really think of it that way. For me, as a very impulsive person, naturally, I don't think of emotions as thoughts. I think of them more as reactions. But you're right. It's I have some kind of preconceived notion, and somebody else says something that doesn't fit into that box, and so then I want to react to it emotionally, right? It really does come from a thought. It comes from a perspective, a point of view. And as we become more conscious of what those perspectives are, we can start to dissect them and say, wait a minute, do I really need to react this way? Are they attacking me, or are they just simply sharing their perspective? Right. So that's a lesson that I've been learning over the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, it's huge to be able to put that into a framework that kids can understand, and that way they can avoid having these same challenges that it took us to learn. I'm 43 years old, learning how to be emotionally intelligent. If I would have been taught when I was a toddler, you know, how much healthier would have my relationship been over my life?
Right.
So true.
Absolutely.
And the thing that gets us so jazzed, okay, so a lot of this that we've been talking about is kind of like managing the downside, you know, making things a little bit more comfortable. For us, actually, what we're hugely passionate about is being able to change the world through these kids actually grabbing hold of the vision that they are creators. So that, for us, lights us up, because if a child can realize that they are the creators of their reality based on what they choose to focus on, and what emotions that because they're realizing that their emotions are something that they're choosing based on their thoughts, and so they can choose higher power higher power thoughts, higher power emotions. They can actually, this comes with shifting strategies to teach little kids how to shift their emotions. And so this becomes something that's a practice and a way of life. And then they realize that they can manifest the life that they want.
And that's really that's really it's really powerful when a young child can understand that and get that early on. See, for us, a lot of the emotion stuff that's out there, it really just stopped at helping kids name their emotions. For us, it didn't really go deeper into really trying to teach our children, just like Alissa said, that they are the creators of their life, of their reality. They can literally choose their thoughts. They can choose how they want to feel. And that's their greatest superpower. Their greatest superpower is their ability to choose how they want to feel, even though they might be feeling sad right now.
You're so
even though they might be feeling mad right now.
You're so good with the kids. I want to say something. He's so cute. You guys got to get his programs. I'm telling you, he's like, I listen to him.
I love it, bro. I love it, man.
I'm like, I learned from him when he's like, but our kids, they hold us in check. Those kids. So like, let's just say last year was really rough for me because Sal was sick and I was like, everything kind of landed on me and all my grime and gook was coming out to the surface, right? And it was just like one of those times. But anyway, I would say certain things and my kids would be like, Mom, what are you saying? You're the creator of your life. Don't create that in our family.
Yes.
That's
Something like that. I'm like,
That's right. But like
man.
Alissa was pressed. Talk about being pressed. I don't know if you guys know. I was literally sick in bed for 1 year. I couldn't get out of bed.
Wow.
This past summer. And I was dealing with a lot of my internal stuff. And I think like I needed that piece in order for me to even be doing what I'm doing right now. I had to get this lesson. And it took me about a year to get. And that lesson was really self-love, self-compassion. Like I had a hatred for myself because if I wasn't performing, then I was lacking love because my whole life I had to perform in order to feel that love, or that's the story I attributed to performing, that if I perform, then people love me. So my whole life I had to perform, and then all of a sudden here I am. I get everything taken away from me. My income gets shut down. We lose our income.
He couldn't even pick himself up out of the bed. I mean, he wasn't able to walk to the bathroom himself. He was covered in boils. We didn't know what they were. It was crazy. I was addressing his wounds 3 times a day.
Crazy.
Like he looked like death. My kids were asking if Daddy was going to die every day, crying to me.
Wow.
You know, so his team was gone. He was looking at me doing like man's
She
work.
was doing everything.
Like, so his self-esteem was even. I noticed that he felt bad that I was carrying all the weight of everything as well. I think that took a toll on him.
Huge toll on me. I mean, I'm fighting, and I was quarantined in another room. I couldn't even sleep in the same room as my kids, because we didn't know what these boils all over my body were. We had no clue if they were contagious. Like, it was just all of this stuff coming to the surface. You know, they talk about when gold is purified, you have to put that gold through the fire and you have to refine it, and all that dross comes to the top, right? All of the impurities come to the top. And I feel like all of this stuff, I was being pressed. All of this stuff was coming out. It was Alyssa's stuff was coming out. It was coming out as a family. We were seeing it in our children. It was all coming out. And if we didn't address this stuff and really work through all of this, like that, all of that stuff could have destroyed us. And I know that type of stuff destroys a lot of families, when really, if you just kind of tweaked this one thing and you worked together as a family to try to be more emotionally intelligent, try to, what we like to call, transform the emotional environment of your family. It takes a little bit of effort. It takes some energy. I'm not going to lie. It takes some practices. But it's so worth the investment.
And
because,
I know, sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
but I know you guys have something to contribute with this. As a couple, I've seen you guys go through so much transformation, and you're amazing. But I think that it does start, Sal, what you're talking about, it starts with the parents. Absolutely starts with the parents.
We
Because
have to be willing to do our internal work. And, you know, I really resonate with what you said, Sal. You know, I kind of mentioned in a lighthearted way that we've gone through some dark things in our lives. And I certainly have. And a lot of the things behaviors that I've engaged with that I'm not proud of, the last year, I've had to do a lot of work to forgive myself and to love myself. And it's not easy. But
and it keeps coming back like that. It just, you have to keep loving it and keep loving it and keep loving it and keep loving it, man.
And that's the technique I've been trying to use, is just kind of like the Danny that did that thing was in pain, and it made him act in a way that was not healthy. But I can empathize with myself, with my past self, right? And I could say, you know, I love you and I empathize and I understand the pain that you were in, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and I'm sorry that you reacted in that unhealthy way, but it's okay. I forgive you, and we can move past that now.
That's right.
I mean, I wasn't in bed for a year, but I emotionally went through some really hard stuff that way. So I can really appreciate, and I really feel the energy of what you're saying.
So, like, I just want to say something here, because I know that it's a daily struggle for a lot of parents. I don't think anyone wakes up and says, how can I screw up my kids today? You know what I mean? I don't think that that's the case. I think what happens is that there's old programming, the ways that we've grown up. I mean, we default, no matter what, you default to how you grew up. I don't care how aware you are, okay? Because I might have been one of the most, I mean, I've done so much work with self-development, and I found myself defaulting to ways I saw my parents. And I tried my very best, and I've distanced myself a lot from some of the stuff that I saw my parents. I mean, I went through a lot growing up. But at the same time, I still see it. I still see that stuff try to surface. And I could take that out on my kids, right? I can take out my authority, because I think that I should be the authority, and I interpret some actions of theirs to be disrespectful rather than them just expressing themselves like a normal human being, you know, practicing the respect rather than demanding it. All of these different things, instead of me taking it out and blaming them, I think it's really important as parents that we do our own work, and we realize that we're the ones responsible for the entire environment. Okay, our kids are not responsible for that. They're not responsible even for how they're necessarily reacting. They're reacting to us. We're the ones who are supposed to be there as teachers and guides, and we do that not by what we say, but by what we do, because they're going to do what we do and not what we say. And so I think that's huge, to take responsibility for the emotional environment of your family. Take responsibility for how things are showing up on a daily basis. Instead of taking how you're feeling every day at the end of the day as a feeling of guilt, utilize that emotion to realize it's a wake-up call, and it's a mirror to show you that there's some areas that you do want to shift in. There's some areas that you want to move into more wholeness by forgiveness and different things like that you guys were talking about. There's some tools available. Right. But don't keep going with that emotion, but rather look at it as an opportunity to grow.
Absolutely. Yep. And we try to lay out just some very, very practical ways for children to do that. And you know, we feel that tantrums or big emotions, that's really just an invitation for intimacy.
Mhm.
Right? Those big emotions, our kids are having these big emotions because there's something going on with them in that moment. There's a story going on. And if we don't catch that story now and help them process that now, they're going to keep splitting, right?
Mhm.
We have a different conversation. We're trying to integrate. You know what I mean? Like us as adults at 40, 43 years old, whatever, we're trying to integrate with that little boy and that little girl. These kids are at a different place. They don't have to integrate. That's who they are. So let's help them powerfully create from that place to help them handle emotions right away, feel it, validate themselves, but let's shift it. How do we shift now from your low energy, feeling that low energy, right? So we help them feel the low energy. It's okay to feel that low energy. It's low energy. Right? We want to raise our energy because as we raise our energy, as we are trying to feel ourselves toward love, that's how we're going to raise our energy. And in between those stages, we have compassion, we have peaceful, we have happy, we have excited. And all of these different feelings have different types of high energy frequencies. And outcomes, that's right. And so we're literally giving our children tools to hack their reality, so to speak, to manipulate their reality so that it could be something that if they're feeling a certain way, that's what they're going to attract. We teach the children in the class, like attracts like. Why are emotions so important? The bottom line is like attracts like. You are going to attract how you feel. If you're in low energy, it's okay to be in low energy, right? It's totally normal, but you don't want to stay there. How do we shift to a higher energy frequency? How do we shift to a higher feeling? How do we shift to a higher thought? So we teach our children 14 different shifting strategies to help them do this so that it becomes part of their DNA. So they know that they can feel a certain way, but they also have the tool to change that. And so it's very, very practical strategies that we teach. We teach 2 of them in our intro video that you guys have seen. We have another course coming out that's going to teach this whole process where we teach the anger iceberg, right? Anger is a supplemental emotion. So a lot of kids think they're angry, but they're not really angry. They're actually stressed out, grumpy, intimidated. There's all of the different feelings that they feel, and if we can actually help them get at those feelings, we can help that kid that always seems to be angry no matter what.
Well, I just want to interrupt because I think this is an important thing to share. Before you had mentioned integrating and kids splitting. Give an example of that. Like for Rain, for example, our Rain, he's so precious. He's 6, but he is a very sensitive soul.
Sure.
He always has been. And so he's like the kind of guy that could probably just cry at the drop of a hat, like if a little worm get crushed or something. Like he's just very, very sensitive. But in order to kind of like survive in our family, I think that there was a time period where he took on the story that he's Higashi, right? Because we were trying to help him get a hold of other parts of himself, which, you know, Higashi means like
Fierce.
Like he's fierce. So we saw him become this like guy that was just like really fierce with everything. So he would feel sad about something, and all of a sudden he would cut off that feeling of sadness, and he would start to put on this like anger. And we realized that what was going on is that he was actually splitting, cutting off part of his feelings.
Right.
What he was doing was forming defense mechanisms.
Yeah,
and those defense mechanisms carry through for the rest of our lives and keep us from experiencing. This is a powerful lesson that I've been learning the last couple of years. Those defense mechanisms keep us from experiencing the fullness of love, the unconditional love, because we start limiting how we can receive love.
That's right.
And so, yeah, I'm so glad that you brought us back to that point, Alissa, because I wanted to make that point about defense mechanisms. That's what happens when we don't teach our kids how to process their emotions in a healthy way. those things can metastasize into those defense mechanisms that just leave us traumatized for the rest of our lives and starving for love ultimately.
Absolutely. And totally wreck marriages. That's a whole nother conversation. But
oh yeah,
if we can't get this in our marriage, you know, how are we really going to fully express that to our children? We can talk about it, you know what I mean, but they have to see us all kind of living it.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to make a point. Going back to what Alissa was saying in the beginning of having this feeling of being the victim in a particular moment, I think it's so empowering to teach these kids that they have the ability to create their own lives, to create the world that they live in. They have that power. This whole superhero training idea is beautiful because kids love seeing that. Like, oh, I love this idea of being a superhero, but how can I do that? What power do I have?
I love it too. I wore my X-Men shirt today because
Awesome.
And so it's so empowering for them to have that at such a young age. I mean, Alissa, after having kids, finally realizing, like, wait a minute, I have the ability to change this. I have the ability to control my life. I have the ability to determine what my life feels like. And as a kid, I think there's so much of this feeling of powerlessness when you're a child, right? You have to ask your parents for permission for just about everything. And what a great gift for them to know at such a young age, I have the power to create my reality. I have the power to create the existence that I get to live in. And it's so liberating and empowering at the same time. I think it's so important that the work that you guys are doing is super important. I'm so grateful to you guys for the fact that you're doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We definitely feel a calling for it. We just we have such a heart to see families. We know what it's like.
It shows in your passion.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Families are struggling. It's not an easy thing to come together and to realize that as a family unit, you guys can actually change the world, that you have a story and a purpose. And each family has their own story and their own purpose. And that's really our heart, is to have people realize that they can create the life that they want. We're all in the image of God. It's beautiful for kids to realize that at an early age. Consumers, this is what's going on. I mean, we're in an age where kids are just sitting there consuming. Adults too, we all are, right? We're just consuming, and then it becomes almost impossible to create. But we're made in the image of God, and God is a creator. And so when you give that power, like Vanessa was just saying, when we can hand that power over to them, I think it's extremely, it's a powerful thing. It's amazing.
Give us a little bit of an overview of what actually, what products you have with the Awaken Generation, the classes, the game, and then maybe we could get into sharing a strategy or two of how to shift emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our superhero training kit, and so that's kind of what you see behind us. And this comes with all of these different emotional character cards. So, right, this is we're trying to help our kids with these cards to name their emotions, to know how they feel, because each one of these cards comes with, so this is angry, for example, but there are supplemental emotions. Sometimes you're not really feeling angry, you're really feeling frustrated. That might be a better way for the child to communicate how they're feeling, because that's really how they're feeling. They're not feeling angry, they're feeling frustrated. And if you could address their frustration, if you could validate their frustration, then their anger will dissipate. So that comes with a little work, from the parent, and we kind of give it's a quick start guide where we kind of help the parents through this process.
Just to back up really quick, we've designed this to be really, really simple. The last thing that we wanted to create was something where a parent would have to go through all of these different things in these high intensity emotional moments with their kids, right? So your kid's having a breakdown, or they're just screaming and yelling, or they're fighting with their, sibling or a friend or whatever, or with you. So there's something going on and it's a high intensity situation. You can't stop really and have to go through all of these different processes. So we made this very simple to be used in the moment, in high intensity moments. You want to do is you want to, we framed it. It comes as a poster. You can do whatever you want with it, really hang it. But we have the kids become involved in the process of creating a space for themselves that they want to call their superpower space, their high vibe space, their quiet space, whatever it is. We have like a little tent that the kids made, and that's kind of where they go to have to kind of regroup.
Their fortress of solitude.
What was that?
Their fortress of solitude.
I like that. Ooh, I like that. We probably should really use that. But you're also teaching them to create a space like that, right? This it's very purposeful. Throughout life, right? And so they have this space. Then what they're going to do is they're going to ask themselves, I feel, okay? And they're going to identify where they're currently feeling. And they put this on there, right? So I'm feeling right now kind of sad, Things are really rough right now. I don't know what's going on. I feel sad. This is some of the rooted emotions that are kind of a lot of the emotions you experience on Earth. This is very heavily Earth side, right? And as you continue to move up toward love, this is really like heaven. This is really some of the stuff that you can experience. And we're designed with the capacity for both earth and heaven. And so we really want to be able to integrate our full capacity to experience all the different emotions that we were created to experience, and to utilize those to our power and benefit, and to the benefit of others. So then here you would say how you're currently feeling, and then why do I feel this way? So we're trying to identify the thought that led there. And then you want to ask, how do I want to feel? So you ask the child, how do they want to feel? You go through this with them initially at first, but it's really designed so that they can do this on their own after a while. So you kind of say, maybe it's time for you to go in your quiet space or your fortress of solitude or whatever. And, you just have a good time with it. It's something that's a positive thing, not a negative thing. And you go, and then maybe I'd rather feel just some peaceful right now. I just need some peace in my life, right? And so you have them identify how they want to feel. And then that's where we have the shifting strategies. And they have these little cards. Do we have them with us?
The shifting strategies? Yeah, they're right there.
Okay, I got it. So this is important, right? Because you want to give them the ability to have some practical tools that can help them move into higher feelings. So do you want to go through some of these?
Yeah, so we have 14 different shifting strategies. I think the ones that would probably be most important to teach, to know, the first one is definitely gratitude. I teach all of my students gratitude, and if we can be in gratitude as a family, that I know people, they know about it, right? But if you can really live it and really practice it every single day, as an individual and as a family, you will see the emotional environment of your family transform. I know it's true for our family. If you can focus on the things that you're grateful for, if you can write down the things that you're grateful for. So, we challenge our students to keep a gratitude journal, and every single day write down 3 things that they're grateful for and focus on the things that they're grateful for. So we start every single class with just kind of going around and talking about all of the things that we're grateful for, because we want our kids to just live in gratitude. Constantly saying thank you. Thank you for the food on our table. Thank you that we have a roof over our head. Thank you, Mom, for the meal that you just made. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We want our kids to be in gratitude. So if we can help our children really focus on the things that they're grateful for.
Well, it trains the mind too. It's a training ground to try to train your mind to focus on what's good, because in any given moment, there's always 2 things happening. And honestly, sometimes I don't even know if there is such thing as good and bad, right? I think that's a judgment. However, this is kind of where kids are understanding at their stage of development. And so there's 2 things happening simultaneously, something that can be judged as bad or something that can be judged as good. But we want to train the mind to focus on those things that are good. And so when you're focused on what you're grateful for, you're focused on the things that are good. And the more and more you can train your mind to look for those things, you can see every opportunity as good.
every challenge as an opportunity.
Yeah.
We're over here like high-fiving behind the scenes because you guys are like, boom,
Yes.
boom, boom.
Yeah, man.
This one I really like too. Ooh, where is it? It's send forgiveness. This could be practiced by writing a letter or by closing your eyes and picturing yourself no longer hurt by someone and releasing them. I think kids hold on to a lot of, just to teach them that at an early age. Imagine forgiving yourself for the things that you feel like you've done wrong, or, I mean, there's just so much in that. But these are things that kids can learn very simply. You know, some of the simple things, but that are just that powerful. They're really powerful.
Like we have another shifting strategy, and I tell the kids this story. I was in my room the other day folding clothes, and I was feeling really grumpy. And I say, you know what? I have to be honest with you. Like I was feeling grumpy. You know, that's okay, right? Yeah, I'm allowed to feel grumpy, right? Just like you're allowed to feel mad. So yeah, I was feeling grumpy, and I said to myself, well, I'm feeling grumpy. I don't want to feel grumpy right now. How do I want to feel? So I thought about it for a second, and I said, you know what? Let me use one of my shifting strategies. And the shifting strategy is smile for no reason. So I just started finishing the clothes, and I was smiling for no reason. You know, that smile, you forcing yourself to smile actually sends a connection to your brain to make your brain think that you're happy. So shifting strategies, I tell the kids all the time, you might not feel like doing it. Do it anyway. Always do it anyway, okay? You're not going to feel like doing it because sometimes you're going to feel so sad and your energy is going to be so low, but you have to use your mind, train your mind to do one of the shifting strategies that you know to do any of them.
Because you're at the creation of God.
That's right. It's your choice. You choose how you think. You choose how you feel. So let's do it. What is a shifting strategy that you want to do? Another one of Alyssa's favorite. You want to tell them about raising your prime?
Oh, well, that's kind of what you're talking about, is just raising your energy level. So we do this a lot in our family. It is my favorite because I like to have fun. A big thing for me is joy. I mean, that's just who I am. I might have like kind of lost touch with that for a little bit, but you can actually train your body to listen to you. Rather than have your emotions dictate to you how it feels. So your circumstances don't dictate to you. You can train your mind. So we always, our physiological posture throughout the day is so powerful, and we don't even really realize how powerful it is. So like if you're like sitting around all day, especially since everyone's been like working from home and having to be home all day, I think that it's easy to fall into a rut where you're just kind of like in lounge mode. What's really going to come out of lounge mode? Not a whole lot, right? There's not really going to be a whole lot of energy that comes out of lounge mode. So it depends on really what you want to access. But if you can realize that just by raising your energy, just by getting up, dancing, having a good time.
We do it right now because
Oh my God.
this is
how we do
we're
it.
gonna roll like this.
But you know,
That's the old school wave shoot.
and just infuse yourself with some energy.
All right.
Imagine like,
Can you hear this?
from there.
Can you hear it?
I hear it.
Did I even wear pants? I don't know.
Come on, I hope you guys are dancing in the background. I want to see you. Yeah, man. All right. All right. Yeah.
That is
man.
really, not only is that a really great strategy to just like get your kids smiling and laughing, but it really does have a physiological change that's grounded in like actual science, right? Just moving the energy through your body, releasing negative emotions, and just, yeah, I mean, that is just so powerful. We actually were talking about that. You guys mentioned that in the video, in the introduction video, that you guys dance every morning with your kids and when you first get up, and we think that is such an awesome thing. We're going to start doing that.
Yeah, man. It really gets the energy moving. And then our kids know that if they're at a place where they're feeling down or they're feeling low energy, they can do something about it. They have strategies. You know, like my son Rain the other day, he was feeling really, really sad, and he would get out of it, and then all of a sudden he would feel sad again, and we were trying to help him work through something particular, and he was working so hard on trying to figure out why he was feeling that way, and he was kind of going through his thoughts, and we were able to show him on the superhero training kit that fell down from our dancing. Yeah. We were showing him on the board like where he was at, and it's low energy, and he kind of came up with his own strategy, and he wanted to just kind of put on some music and draw for a little while and sketch.
Oh, wow.
And that was his strategy to help him raise his energy.
Yeah.
You know what? And in that place, I believe our kids are smart enough and wise enough to, when they raise their energy, they'll be able to figure out what it is and you know, why they were at that place. And they can see that, okay, this energy makes me feel like this, but this energy, when I choose to do this, makes me feel like this. So it's us constantly trying to help our kids feel their emotions, feel where they're at, but shift.
Absolutely.
And I think it's beautiful that the fact that you guys share some of these tips also encourages kids to look for things that can help them, right? Like if that's not one of the tips in your kit, he figured it out for himself. Like, oh, I know that there are activities I can do. Let me find something that works for me. If these activities don't work, I can figure something else out, and I still have the power to do that.
What I was going to say was about how doing those things changes the hormonal and chemical makeup inside your body, and your body memorizes those things. And so instead of memorizing trauma-based hormone profiles, they are memorizing joy and gratitude and positive emotional chemical profiles or hormonal profiles.
Right.
And then they can easily access them in the future.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, take it away.
Yeah, they can access them in the future. It's
No, it's amazing, actually. It really is to think that there's so much around emotions, right? There's so much to this that it's such a vast, amazing topic. So just to let you guys know, so we have the superhero training kit, right? We also have the emotional intelligence intro class. So that's a video class right now. It's a 45-minute class. It's a very engaging class. Kids as young as 5 years old, I think, would be able to sit there and engage with this class. And it teaches a very, very strong, fundamental, solid foundation of what emotions are. And you guys saw the class, so you know. So we have that class. It's $27, and we also will be having the 5 steps to emotional mastery. That's going to be a longer course, still very engaging, but that'll be a longer course that would bring kids through each one of those questions, helping them identify their emotions, get to the root of what that emotion is. Then there's choice and shift. They have the choice. How do I want to feel? I want to feel happy. I want to feel peaceful. And then what can I do to feel that way? And that's where the 14 different shifting strategies come in. So we'll actually have a class around the whole superhero training kit process, and that'll be a video class as well. And then we have some live classes that we'll be doing. But then for those who graduate from the 5 steps to mastering their emotions, that course, we have something called High Vibe Kids Tribe. And that's really a mastermind. It's like a kids mastermind class that meet every week. And we're trying to continue to practically work through our emotions. So we come together with a snack, we hang out, we talk about how their emotions are working for them on a daily basis, and we'll kind of individually coach those kids through this mastermind group. And then
it's also for them to learn how, a lot of times even in homeschooling groups and stuff that we've been a part of, kids are taught up on their own. And they are missing the opportunity of collaborative efforts and what the power of that is, and just being able to come together with other unique talents, and how that will just catapult you to new levels of development. Not even just personally, internally, but just in creation and creating things that you're talented at. So
Yeah.
for us, it's all very meaningful.
And that's kind of like
And
the
he's
next.
really good at it.
That's kind of the next level
They
where
love
we want to mentor these. We want to mentor kids in this way. We want them to learn. So we would ask, like in these groups, we're having the other kids help some of the other kids identify their emotions, and just like Alissa said, it's very collaborative, and it's kind of the next level of just this process of where we feel we can contribute to this particular conversation. So that's kind of what we have
We're
going on
excited
right
about
now.
it, guys. Thank you so much for
I
having
think
us.
it's also really amazing that these kids are learning to talk about their emotions with each other, because that's something that as adults we miss out. A lot of us struggle with. How do we talk about emotions? How do, Alissa, you were talking about how sometimes it's a lot more difficult for men to have those conversations. And if their kids already growing up with that freedom to have those conversations,
Yeah.
I think it'll be so helpful. I think this is really where the work begins to help shift the way mental health is viewed in around the world. I think a lot of people are struggling because they don't know how to speak about their emotions, and the fact that these kids are going to grow up knowing how to identify their feelings, how to accept their feelings and work through them is like the most sacred activism anybody could ever do. So thank you so much for that.
You're really
Not only that,
gonna create an awakened generation.
Yeah.
we're trying to. But I just want to say one more thing.
Go
Because
for it.
this is going to be the to be continued part.
Okay.
The reason why this is so important is because if our children don't get this, the world that is to come, well, the world that's here that we think is coming, but it's already here, is the world of artificial intelligence. And if our children are not emotional masters, I think they're going to have a hard time in this next world that's emerging right now. Even with this whole pandemic and the quarantine, this whole world is emerging. That's a whole nother conversation.
This is a way to upgrade naturally, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was telling Danny, there's this saying, I know it in Spanish, but it basically translates to, don't think about what world you're going to
Spanish. Spanish first.
Okay, I'll say it in Spanish. No te preocupes qué mundo le vas a dejar a tus hijos. Preocúpate qué hijos le vas a dejar a tu mundo. So don't worry about what world you're going to leave for your children. Worry about what children you're leaving for this world. So, and I think that's exactly what you guys are doing. You guys are on point with that, and it's amazing. I thank you so much for all of it, and I'm so happy that you guys came on and shared the story and some of those tips. And we can't wait to join the class with Xander. I think it'll be helpful for parents just as much as for children. I think it's really important work.
Absolutely. The most important work. Aside from improving ourselves, improving our families is the next most important task we have.
Right? Families have the ability to transform the world. That's just the bottom line. And so we're very passionate about that because we want to see a good world. We've been transformed. We lived in the darkness. We were in it. We were revivalists of that. I was. Maybe I'm getting a little too deep, but I was taken out of a very, very dark world, and I want to bring goodness to this earth now. And
Amen.
I want to see my kids bring goodness to this earth. I want to see them step into who they're created to be, who they're really created to be. No hindrances.
Yes.
Imagine that. Imagine. I'm sure they're all going to have some things. But just imagine what that's going to look like. Sorry, I could kind of talk about this stuff forever. I know.
No, please. We don't have a time limit. If you want to hang around a few minutes more, and keep
Our kids,
that's
we don't
fine.
know what they're doing right now.
She's like, I gotta check on the kids.
Destin Rain, watch the baby. Don't cry.
They'll be hanging off the chandeliers. That's our kids.
Thank you so much for being with us, guys. We really appreciate it.
Man, thank
Bless you. Love you guys.
Love you
We
too.
love you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
So you guys can check out their all their content at awaken-gen.com, like it's on the screen, and find out more about their courses and the game. We're definitely going to get our son involved in the classes because just from watching the introduction, we know that it's going to be an amazing tool to teach him. As always, please follow. Had to stream. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So, as always, please follow us on social media. We're on all the big platforms, but as you know, and I say this every week, the big social media companies like Facebook and YouTube are really hardcore censoring content right now, especially content that's related to holistic medicine or, you know, some of the alternative and spiritual stuff that we discuss. So minds.com and Float are two censorship-free and privacy-centric social media platforms that we really are promoting. We want people to get on these alternative sites because Facebook and YouTube are now openly saying they're going to not just provide fact checking for like vaccine content, but they're actually just going to block anti-vaccine content or holistic medicine content. So no longer are they just going to shadow ban certain, they're openly saying now we're going to censor that type of material. So if you get on minds.com or Float, these are two platforms that are committed to providing censorship-free social media and as well as privacy. They don't sell your information or share it with big governments or big companies like the way Facebook, it's come out over the last couple of years that they do. Sorry if it seems like I rant about this a lot, but I think it's really important that we have backups, right? Everybody's on Facebook, I know. But if we slowly start to get it over to Minds, when Facebook really puts down the censorship clamp, we'll have our networks already set up over there. So please follow us on those networks and subscribe to our channels so you get information about our new episodes. Next week, we have an exciting episode. We're going to have Dr. Rachel Yehuda, who she is right now starting a clinical trial using MDMA to treat PTSD. So here's another medicine that the federal government says has no medical value, but in actuality is being used to treat mental illness and PTSD and a lot of other illnesses. So that's going to be a really informative and exciting show. She's going to talk about the science behind it. And, you know, we are very into psychedelics and their potential for therapeutic uses. So if you're interested in that topic, next week is going to be a really powerful show as well. So thanks to everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye.
Bye.